What's going on, everyone? What's going on? Maddie, Sergio, Roger, what's up? Someone just confirm, make sure we don't have no robo voice. Make sure about that. As you see right now, and this is the funny part, you see my watch list? Robo? Appreciate that.
Me all set to go. Audio's lagging. All right. Now, mic test, mic test. Robo. Okay. Oh, someone said good. I appreciate that. Well, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. As you just saw, Thomas literally just hit us with possibly the worst news on one of the strongest tech stocks right now in Apple. Apple is said to tell iPhone suppliers demand has slowed. The timing on that was horrendous. And I know that there was buyers. They were still floating out there for 170, hoping for 172. It is what it is. So we'll see what Apple really does tomorrow. But that was leading the tech sector as far as being one of the strongest names out there, along with Microsoft. Those were the two names that were really leading the tech sector and were pretty much red for the or green for the most part today. But just a few takeaways right now before I just get into futures. And as you see right now, my watch list today, it's pretty much just futures. Literally, that's exactly what I'm looking at. What I'll probably do after looking at futures is seeing what names you guys are specifically in, taking a look at those, looking at what some support levels are. If you're in some red positions, that meaning you're pretty much at a loss, then I'll look to see where your potential exit points are. That'll be more so. Right now, I will say getting into SPY right now is pretty much like catching a knife. That's literally what you were looking at if you ended up trying to buy calls today, and especially swing in that overnight. Now, here's a good example. And you probably heard Avery say that he took about 10 calls on SPY, expecting us to hold pretty much this 450 level. He was calling bottom himself at 450. But if you recognize one thing that he did for himself is that he gave himself multiple days. He gave himself, I believe, about half of the month, 3/4 of the month. So with enough time for that expiration, and so it's not like he bought a weekly or he bought 0 day. So even though he's trying to time the bottom, he gave himself a lot of time, and if need be, he can average down. So that's something that I wanted to point out to you guys, especially those of you that you're itching to get into a position. You really want to stay in the market, but you definitely don't want to get caught in all this volatility like you saw today. That was a good example of what he did. He took a small position, but he took a far expiration, knowing that he's not going to try and time that bottom. Not today, not this week. He gave himself about 3 weeks time. All right, so that's something I want to point out. But the day pretty much started out exactly how I expected, and as you saw, Super Fortuna, it literally fired on all cylinders with the QQQ and the SPY. That was literally a banger this morning. I told you guys on live last night. I even tweeted about it, and I said to take your profits at open. And I literally meant that, to take your profits at open, because if you noticed, right around that 10 o'clock hour this morning Eastern, the market started to turn sour. We started to get back to gains. So that's exactly why I mentioned to make sure that you secure the bag, that you took your profits by open, and you literally at that point you didn't even need to touch anything else because you literally just cashed out in the morning and we just watched the bloodfest, or you went on with your day. All right. So that was one thing. The other thing to point out was the rapids here this morning. We had a few nice rapids. I know that the Tesla rapid came out. I was telling everyone to get in under 1166. It was. That was a beautiful one. It had a nice bounce to it. The Apple one, we saw the strength that Apple had. It was pushing new highs yet again. We got beautifully right over that 170 level. We were talking about that. And then also we had the Amazon ones, which were a little bit more tough. But if you actually set in a limit order, and it's usually what I tell everyone to do, if you set in a limit order with Amazon, like I said, get in under a certain level on Tesla, that's usually when you get those quick 10% off of those names, especially the volatile ones like that. In particular, with Amazon, you only need about a $3 move. If you catch, you know, the right limit order, you only need about a $2, $3 move to really catch a 10% gain on that. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. But those were beautiful rapids this morning that we had. It's just a shame that the market really just went pretty sour really quickly. And it was just a bloodfest to end the day. The other thing to point out, and this is pretty much just, I guess you want to just throw out facts there. I pointed out yesterday we are making lower highs, lower lows. That's really just been a matter, since that Thanksgiving last week. And then the other thing is, the market has not really shaped out, not just today, but since Powell has really been speaking and all the news has been leaking out going into, his whole testimony and all his speeches this week to start it. So that actually hasn't been so well. And now that we have the new variant that's already in the US, that's really what spooked the market. All right. So now what that really does is that usually what we've seen through this whole entire rally is that the market has actually overcome any kind of bad news. We've literally taken any bad news that there is in the market and that literally turned into good news and the market just rallied off of it. But what it seems like the market doesn't like is uncertainty, and that's basically what the new variant is actually bringing. All right. So now with the new variant, what's really going to be the cause and effect here, being that it's exposed to the U.S. now? What's going to be the damage? Still lingering with the whole tapering issue. Also, what's going to be the future of all this? How's it going to dampen the economic outlook? And that's really what you're looking at. What caused the damage today? All right. So I know that there's a few people that are trying to call bottom. There's a few people that are trying to say, we're going down, we're going to sink, we're going to go down like the Titanic. A few levels that were pointed out to me here, and I'll just read this off to you before I really just get into the diagram and the level that I'm really watching, is that if we're holding current levels, this will be a 5% retrace that we're getting off of highs. If we get a 6% retrace, then we're looking at 445. 8% retracement will be 435. And then ultimately, if we get a full 10% correction off of this downtrend here, then we would close out at 426, in which that would ultimately be where we should close out and get a full reversal there. All right. So those are the key levels that you're particularly watch. Now, looking out to the daily here on SPY, and I didn't go into the ES particularly because you can see the gaps they're more identified on SPY. So that's why I brought the SPY chart. But where I'm really watching here is that we're approaching the 100-day moving average. That's what I wanted to point out. So if we're getting down to the 100-day moving average, we'll be reaching up to 446 on SPY. And that's what I'll be watching. If you heard me on live, I pretty much wanted to stay above 448. That's the level that I was particularly watching. And then Avery said, I overlooked 450, but I was expecting us to get to 480 and to not end up filling this gap. As you see to the right of my cursor here, there is a gap. I wanted to see us actually just close out 448, probably wick down to that 100-day moving average, and that'll be where we end up getting a reversal. If that be the case, and we end up pretty much just overall holding the 100-day moving average, and then that will be our reversal point. Now, of course, granted the levels that I was just reading off, potentially even getting down lower to 435, 426, then that would just put away the 100-day moving average. And then now we're looking at the 200-day moving average, in which that ends up putting us down to that 427, 426 range, in which that'll be a full 10% correction. So that's really what you're looking at right now. But bigger picture wise, if you're trying to catch a knife, do pretty much what exactly is what Avery did. And obviously there's risk involved, but he went out with far expiration. That's really the message that I want to give out to everyone. Do not try to pay weeklies, especially trying to time a reversal and catching a knife here. All right. That will be pretty much my biggest message here tonight. Do not try to play weeklies or 0 day even for that matter, trying to catch a knife here in this market right now. All right. That would probably be the worst thing that you can do for your portfolio right now. If anything right now, you should be getting far expiration to get a reversal, or you should be looking for long dated positions for your long term portfolio on this drop. Those would be the two things that I would tell you to do right now. This is not something to necessarily be scalping if you don't know how to scalp in this kind of environment, because as you're getting these drops and you see these $5, $7 drops, you have to remember that you're getting into oversold territory. And any relief in the market will be an instant $2 to $3 pop on most of these stocks. So you will get shaken out of a lot of your positions. But what you're looking to do is you're looking to short any bounce that you end up potentially having. And so the other thing that I want to point out also is that it looks like we're actually following trend right now with how futures are looking. Is that what is basically what our trend has been? Lower highs in which we gap up every night, and then lower lows, which is caused by the market bleeding out during market hours. So that's the two things that I wanted to point out there as well. But looking at SPY, like I said, I want to see us hold that 100-day moving average. We'll get down to about 446, which would, yes, complete that gap fill right there. it will cover it at 447 and ultimately wait down, I believe, around 446. And that would be potentially my ideal bottom here tomorrow morning. Not necessarily tomorrow morning because obviously we're going to gap up. But if we end up giving it all back and we end up getting back red tomorrow, that would be my end point, which I would look to step in and actually buy calls at 446 and holding that 100-day moving average. If we can't hold that 100-day moving average, then yeah, I'm going to stay cash and like I am tonight, and I'll just wait it out to see exactly how further down we're going to continue to go. And it's likely I'm aiming towards the 200-day moving average. All right. Not so much changes to Nasdaq. I think it looks almost identical here, and I think it looks better back to my 4-hour range. And I could probably take out the Bollinger Bands because you don't need to see that necessarily. Not really showing us anything here. And as you see, we already broke all the moving averages off of my my 4-hour chart here. We already broke the 200-day. That was really where the support was on this expanding wedge that we have. It ended up breaking right there. I can also remove that. But I had that zone. We ended up breaking my first zone here. My next zone that I end up having is pretty low here. It's getting down towards 15,595, in which that's really going to be a breakdown. And that's also going to cause us SPY to go towards that 200-day moving average. The other support, and I don't know why it's not here, it's not showing, but it was right around 15,775. That was the next level of support that I was watching here as well on Nasdaq, and which that would likely just push us towards that 446, and then we would end up bouncing here on Nasdaq futures right around 15,775. All right, so that'll be the next level I watch there. But if we end up breaking that 15,775 level on Nasdaq, then yeah, it's gonna get pretty ugly. All right. So other than that, those are the two names I'm really watching. I'm not watching specific tickers tonight because I really want to see, what the gap up is tomorrow. I'm not really trying to necessarily time the gap ups per se. I want to see which gap up particularly looks more weak than the other, and that's really what I'll tackle. I was actually looking for Tesla this morning at Amazon. They gapped up pretty nicely. It just weren't able to hold, and I should have shorted those. I just passed on it. I didn't really necessarily get caught in that, but those were beautiful shorts if you caught those at the top as well. All right. Let me take a few tickers that you guys have, and then that'll probably wrap it up for tonight. As like I said, I mean, we're not trying to necessarily catch a knife. I'm not gonna, look at charts to say go look at this knife. And the other thing was that, I actually set you guys up for this practically, these past few days here, looking at different trends. If you remember, looking at ascending channels on Costco. The other one was looking at the head and shoulders also on Affirm. If you remember, I was showing you guys that head and shoulders actually. If I actually point that out, I remember I actually gave you guys this diagram, and this right shoulder didn't even play out at the time that I ended up showing you guys this chart. We were still at the top when I showed this one, right? Costco was actually still in its ascending channel. Now we actually have that flush. I mentioned that we wanted to see a confirmation of the breakdown. That was literally a flush out that we ended up having. Another name which I know also had an ascending channel. I'm trying to think of the name that it was. Costco had one. I'm drawing a blank on the other name that I ended up showing. Costco. Oh yeah, it'll probably come back to me later. But yeah, those were two of the names that I remember in particular that I was looking at the trends and waiting for them to break. So I just wanted to point that out, and that's why I was looking at different trends through the week. But someone mentioned to look at Uber. Let's take a look at Uber real quick. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Lyft is actually doing pretty good also, if I'm not mistaken. And Izzy wants me to look at Shop, of course. Wait, didn't Shop die today? I'm pretty sure Shop literally died today. Why is this here? Let's move that down. Alright, there we go. So I think this has to be like the biggest falling wedge action that I've seen as of late. But it is a beautiful falling wedge nonetheless. Here's your support right around this level of 34.93. If you actually take a look, you have a tiny little gap fill off to the left corner here, in which that is going to be filled, and that's likely going to take you right into your support right there. So there's a tiny little gap fill right there that you end up having. So you enter that gap fill right there, in which that's going to enter below 35.15, and then that'll complete at 34.92. So 34.92 would be where I tell you to take it, an entry on that to scale in the position, and that would ideally be your I would hope your last support level on this falling wedge at 34.92, and that would be where you start to scale in a position here, and then look to get that up the reversal towards the resistance, and then hopefully at some point, if it's not by the end of the year, then early next year you'll be looking for a breakout of this massive falling wedge action that we have. So that's what I'll be looking at, but my entry point again would be 44.90, 34.92 will be my entry point on this one. All right. Other than that, yeah, you do have a little bit of pain if you are in the position already. It's about what, a dollar and change move, close enough. Yeah, about a dollar and change move you're looking at towards the downside. If you've already entered, that'll be that 34.92 will be where you want to average down if be the case. All right. Someone said shop. Let me take a look at shop, and of course it had to be easy. I'll delete that number. I think that's pretty old there. And shop, and I think I mentioned this one yesterday, but shop looks similar to Google, but it does have a beautiful rising wedge action. So you're going to get down close enough to support here. If I were to say your support level that you're looking towards 1413. That will be where you're likely going to intercept here to touch that support level. And that'll be the level where you'll likely get a bounce before you get the full breakdown. So 1413, that'll be the level that you want to continue to keep short. You basically want to short any potential bounce that you're going to have tomorrow on this gap up, and that'll bring you back down towards that support level. All right. So 1413, that's the level mentally that you want to watch towards the support, and then it's likely you're going to get another drop right there. So you're shorting the bounce towards 1413 ideally. All right. Let's see what's another one. AMC is literally dead, isn't it? I'm gonna just look at it. I don't think there's really any TA to look at because this thing is just dead. Yeah, that thing died. Ouch. That looks horrendous. Next level 2548. That ideally looks like the next level we're looking at. Yeah, you're looking at 2548 on AMC. Below that, it's gonna start to get really ugly. Then your next level of support that you're looking towards is 1991. That'll be your next. Literally 1991. Wow. Yeah, 1991. They're literally gonna likely flush us out of this correction that we're in right now. So 1991, that will be your next level. So those are the two key levels that you're watching here. Again, that's right around 25, 20, yeah, 2553, and then 1991 will be your two support levels on AMC that you're watching. But again, this is a knife, right? And this is pretty much what I was saying about catching a knife. Be very careful with that. And if you're trying to catch a knife, then try to go for very far expiration. That's exactly what I would tell you right now. And I'm not surprised that Tom would say AMC going to 15, but I'm not gonna lie, there is a gap, and I didn't go that low. But yes, there's a gap down here. And that would literally put you right into that $15 mark that Tom actually just mentioned. But I wasn't gonna go that low because I know that there's a lot of meme lovers out there. So ultimately, yes, that would put you. If I want to be nice, your gap completes at 1667. All right. So I'll be nice. I didn't go down to 15. 1667 would be your actual completion of that gap fill. All right. Shiv just said puts on AMC. No, don't short the meme stocks. I wouldn't like to short the meme stock. Actually, I just want to peek something. I'm really not gonna do TA on it. How did GME do? Yo, that looks ugly. All right, I don't want to look at GME anymore. Let's move on. All right, I'm gonna look at two more stocks real quick. I'm gonna look at Neo and I'm gonna look at Moderna. Wait, why am I looking at Neo? This stock is horrendous. I hate Neo. I feel like Dougie saying that right now though. I'm not gonna lie. All right, so two things here. You have a defined downtrend, as you see, and this is literally never changed on my chart. There's literally a defined downtrend. There's nothing here. Until this breaks this downtrend, I refuse to touch Neo. I'm literally not going to touch this thing at all. I refuse to. And the other thing that's most noticeable here is that you literally have a head and shoulders formation. You could say it's ugly. You could say it's the next line is not formed correctly. But ideally here you have a nice little head and shoulders. So if I'm looking to literally write this out for you, you have a left shoulder in which this literally just looks ugly as China stocks particularly look ugly. And I refuse to touch Neo. I'm literally not touching it. As much as Avery literally hyped this up, and I know that Dougie was also watching it, I refuse to touch it. I'm not touching this thing. It's not happening. I wouldn't even touch a China stock right now. But yes, you have a left shoulder, you have a head, and then you have a right shoulder. And then the beautiful part is that you have this beautiful gap fill right here. Just a beautiful gap fill just sitting right there. Just saying, just drop. All right, so you enter a gap fill right below 36.94. So I have no reason to look at this, no reason to want to enter this. I literally have no means of even wanting to put this in my long-term portfolio right now. I don't trust China, and this is just in a defined downtrend. That's literally my two words for you: a defined downtrend and a China stock. Those two things just don't go together. Sorry. That's literally like trying to catch Baba. I mean, Baba it was literally a $300 stock. It's in a defined downtrend and it's a China name. That's literally the two factors that you need to know right now before buying the name. And I still wouldn't even buy Baba either. And I believe Straight also has Baba going to 99. Don't ask me where he came with that number though. I have no idea. I think he pulled that out of somewhere. All right. Last one I'm gonna look at is Moderna. What if I give you Neo shares for Christmas? You know what you can do? You can actually take that and you can go actually see if you can use it at Starbucks. See if they'll let you trade it for a Starbucks gift card. All right, let's see. What am I looking? Oh, this is easy. Moderna literally puked out all that gains, all that talk that that CEO was talking. It literally puked it all out. You're literally in a gap fill. So you already entered the gap fill. This was literally a sell the news. Whatever news that CEO gave you, you're selling that entire news right now. That's basically what this is. Classic buy the rumor, sell the news. Whatever he fed you on TV, probably CNBC that he pumped this, or it was a report, it literally sold it all out. So you're looking at this gap fill. You'll have a little bit of support right around this level here, in which you'll catch a bounce around 285.90, and then you'll complete the gap fill towards 275. So I don't see anything here that particularly incites me other than wanting to short the bounce potentially tomorrow because I mean this is the fine downtrend also. If I was to give you the downtrend here, and I don't even have to go down that far, but let's see if actually does it align if I go down that far. No, it doesn't. So I'll stop right there because those wicks in the body align right there. Yeah, this is a defined downtrend. So that's what I would look at: defined downtrend and entering gap fill. So that's what I would look at: shorting the potential bounce. Whatever bounce you have tomorrow, I would look at potentially shorting that. All right. So that's what I would say about Moderna. There's nothing there. It You have to remember, all the reports that he said is nothing that's really impacting the company. It was just literally just buying the news, basically. But it's basically like how Neo was. Everyone bought the rumor about the entire delivery numbers, but guess what? They sold off on the numbers. Exactly the same on Moderna. All right. So I just want to give you that scenario. Other than that, though, that'll wrap it up for tonight's scenario. Again, I'm gonna reiterate this message for everyone. If you're gonna buy the knife, especially, even if we continue with these lower highs, lower lows, which I anticipate we do, if you're catching the knife, get far expiration. Do not buy 0 day. Do not buy same week expiration. All right, that's literally my message to everyone tonight. It'll probably be the same message again tomorrow night because I mean, obviously, I don't want anyone losing money. Obviously, we would all love to time the bottom, but we're not in the business of timing the bottom. We're in the business of making sure we preserve our capital. All right. So that's my message for everyone tonight. But other than that, I'll leave you guys with that. I'll see you guys on live tomorrow morning. And we'll see exactly if this overnight pump, if it holds, if maybe we end up breaking the trend of this lower highs, lower lows. And we'll see what the market gives us tomorrow then. All right, guys? Other than that, again, I'll see you guys. Oh, Cash Gang Unite. I love that. Actually, I will sleep like a baby. I am cash tonight. I definitely do not want to catch anything. Baba going to $10 soon. Shiv, you know who you should talk to my boy Straight. He's in crypto chat. He's actually has it going to 99. Maybe you guys can come to some kind of compromise, all right? But I'm gonna leave you guys there. You guys have a good night. I'm gonna see you guys in the morning, all right?